No US backdown over Australian lamb imports. Environmentalists stepping up their campaign over kakadu, and Carmen Lawrence claims memory failure at her perjury trial.
From National 9 News, this is Nightline with Hugh Riminton.
Good evening. In talks in Washington, Prime Minister Howard has told US President Clinton that few incidents between our countries have caused such anger as America's decision to slap quotas and tariffs on Australian lamb. His complaint was to no avail. President Clinton says he's happy to help to push for the release from Yugoslavia of jailed aid workers Steve Pratt and Peter Wallace, but he will not budge over the new trade restrictions. Laurie Wilson has our report. Conservationists have vowed to harness public support in their continuing fight against the Jabiluka uranium mine, despite a decision by the World Heritage Committee not to list Kakadu National Park on its in danger list. The committee ignored the advice of its own scientific investigators. The government says the ruling vindicates its support for the mine. Labour MP Andrew Theophanous says bribery charges brought against him by the National Crime Authority are a trumped-up attempt to discredit him because of his support for multiculturalism. Dr Theophanous faces 27 charges for allegedly accepting or asking for nearly $40,000 to help people with immigration problems. After days of evidence contradicting her memory of events, Carmen Lawrence finally took the stand today in her perjury trial. The former West Australian Premier fought back tears as she responded to charges that she lied to a royal commission over the Penny Easton affair. Police have stormed the Melbourne headquarters of the Hells Angels bikie gang, searching for clues to the murder of Bendigo mother Vicky Jacobs. The Special Operations Group used a front-end loader to crash through the gate and roller door. Detectives then spent 5 hours searching the premises, removing documents, a rifle and 3 motorcycles. Vicky Jacobs was shot in the head last month as she slept beside her son. Her former husband, Gerald Preston, is serving a 30-year sentence for a double murder in Adelaide, carried out, police believe, on the orders of Victoria's Hells Angels. Ms Jacobs gave evidence against Preston during his trial. The families of the 11 victims of the Snowtown killings met together in Adelaide for the first time today to be briefed by police about their investigations. While the relatives were offered counselling and support, police also told them the 4 men charged over the serial murders would be unlikely to face trial until the middle of next year. After the break, a margarine to lower cholesterol and a Californian town devastated by flash floods.
On a current affair, from this...
We have to put padlocks on the fridge.
...to this, the teenager who lost half her body weight.
This is me now, the person who was trapped inside the fat kid.
How did she do it? Tomorrow, 6:30.
Queensland's Darling Downs is to get a major economic boost with the establishment of a new coal-fired power plant and a mine to go with it. The project could pump more than $1 billion into the region. The power station will be built near Millmerran, 20 years after a similar idea was knocked back by then Premier Sir Jobiyoki Peterson. The investment by private operator Intergen is expected to create more than 1,200 jobs. It seems the makers of a new margarine, which has the backing of the National Heart Foundation, ought to be congratulated. It's claimed the spread, which has just been launched on the Australian market, can lower cholesterol by 10% in just 3 weeks. 2 decades after students spearheaded the Islamic Revolution in Iran, the wheel appears to have turned full circle. A new generation of students now demanding greater freedoms and protesting against a crackdown on the country's liberal newspapers. Riot police have stormed a dormitory at Tehran University and arrested dozens of student leaders after a series of running street battles. Meanwhile, opposition to Slobodan Milosevic continues to build in Yugoslavia. In the latest demonstrations, thousands of protesters took to the streets in Valjevo, attacking that city's administration offices. Several people were injured as police cleared them out. Their campaign has been strengthened by a change of heart by Vuk Draskovic, who heads the only substantial opposition party in Serbia. He had earlier refused to back the street rallies. Protest leaders are planning to present the government with a petition carrying 2 million names, calling on President Milosevic to stand down. A flash flood has destroyed a mountain village in California, leaving 1 person dead and 3 missing. Mud and debris cascaded into the hamlet of Forest Hills, demolishing or seriously damaging most of the houses. It was so sudden, 1 woman was trapped in her chair and buried up to her chest in seconds. It took 3 hours to dig her out. Sergei Khrushchev, the son of former Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev, has shown he's no red square, today formally becoming a US citizen. His father, who provoked the Cuban Missile Crisis, once boasted in New York that communism would swamp capitalism. Sergei, a former missile engineer, moved to America to work on his father's memoirs after the collapse of the Soviet Union. He said his only free vote in his homeland had been for Boris Yeltsin, and he didn't want to make the same mistake again. In a moment, the shocking acts some children commit and the struggle by parents to help heal the damage. You're with Nightline. There is naturally shock and disbelief when children commit adult crimes. But the case of two young boys accused of sexually assaulting two girls at a primary school in Melbourne recently triggered a wave of renewed community anxiety. As Natasha Johnson reports, psychologists say the so-called loss of innocence is not uncommon, and it's crucial that such children get help, not punishment. In a moment, all the latest sport with Amanda DePledge. And Amanda, a surprise choice for the tour of Sri Lanka.
Hugh, West Australian batsman Simon Katich gets the nod from the ACB. Also tonight, good and bad news for Parramatta at the Rugby League judiciary. Michael Schumacher leaves hospital, and wrestling back to grip Australian fans. Good evening. Mixed fortunes for Parramatta at the Rugby League judiciary tonight. Halfback David Penner got his marching orders, out for a fortnight, while teammate Dean Pay was more fortunate. New South Wales rugby officials have finally decided on a new coach. Ian Kennedy getting the nod over a host of candidates, including former Wallaby mentor Greg Smith and several New Zealanders. Kennedy, currently in South America with the Australian under-21s, takes over from Matt Williams in a 2-year deal. Determined to find a solution to our test batting inconsistencies, Australian cricket selectors have chosen Simon Katich to tour Sri Lanka next month. Queensland's Matt Hayden also gets another shot. A new name also added to the winning World Cup squad, all-rounder Andrew Symonds is also in the lineup. Julian and Dale missing out. Michael Schumacher has left an English hospital after breaking his leg during last weekend's British Grand Prix. The German was taken to a waiting ambulance and is being flown to a private clinic in Switzerland. He's said to be recovering well after his high-speed crash at Silverstone, but will miss the next 4 races at least, ruining his chances of a 3rd World Championship. Wrestling is a sport that is never short on showmanship, and today's Australian launch of an extreme tournament stuck to the script. While the contestants seemed a little too keen to get to grips with each other, the promoter promised the upcoming competition is the real thing. The real thing. Hugh, that's sport for tonight.
If indeed it is sport. Thank you very much, Amanda. In finance news, the Australian share market was up 13 points today. In Tokyo, the Nikkei fell 93 points. In London tonight, the FTSE is 51 points down in morning trading. Gold is fetching $254.70 US an ounce. And in European trading tonight, the Aussie dollar is buying 66.16 US cents, 0.64 against the euro, 80 yen, and just under 42.5 pence. The national weather and cloud over the southeast is associated with the cold front in the Tasman. There's a high in the Bight, while another cold front is moving in through the west. The forecast should be fine for Darwin and Brisbane. More heavy rain in Sydney, showers in Canberra, fine in Melbourne, Hobart and Adelaide, and in Perth, a few showers tomorrow. And that was our day. I'm Hugh Riminton. Good night.